It very much is a back down, and President Trump has said as much, saying that he would take a different stance moving forward in Minnesota. This is not an administration that is known for backing down on immigration enforcement in particular. If anything, they've seemingly only doubled down in the year that they've been in office. But I think this is the first instance since being in office this term that they have backed down. Even though the face of the new operations in Minnesota, Tom Homan, is by no means someone who is lax on immigration whatsoever. He famously was awarded during the Obama administration for the record levels of deportations he actually conducted as a major Department of Homeland Security employee there.
See, I do wonder what he is doing there. Is he there to solidify the deportations in a more manageable way as far as media exposure is concerned, or is he there to diffuse the situation as suggested by the president after his call with State Governor Tim Walz?
I think definitely a bit of both. He is someone who is seen as more of an institutionalist. He is someone who has worked with Democrats and Republicans, and he's also someone who has delivered in the past in terms of deportations. If you look at the deportations that the Obama administration conducted when they were in office for 8 years, the vast majority of them were criminals. They were not the everyday working person who had never committed any crime. This was something done without major actions in the streets. It was not as divisive. If anything, it was something that not many Americans even knew were happening, or at this point even knew happened. I think, if anything, President Trump is a bit frustrated that he has not been able to eclipse the Obama administration's records on deportations.
So as far as this effort to de-escalate is concerned, was this done with the midterms in mind?
Well, I think ahead of the midterms, it looks like Donald Trump is very much in the hole in almost every single way you can look at it. When it comes to his approval rating, he's now in the 38-39% approval rating, and that's something that's come out in the last day or two, but I imagine will only be lower once the whole fallout from this latest killing of a U.S. citizen is really starts to take hold in the population. But even beyond his overall approval rating, he's also quite low on immigration as well. 58% of Americans, according to one Reuters poll, said that the ICE crackdown has gone too far. That's the majority of Americans who said it had gone too far. Now, to put that into context, just about a year ago, the majority of Americans said that immigration had gone out of control and that the U.S. was on the wrong track. And I think the fact that we are now back in a place where Americans have reversed in many ways, I think is telling of just how far the Trump administration has gone on immigration.
Yes, and I do wonder how ironic is it that the Trump administration made an issue of Alex Pretty having possession of a gun, and we know that that gun was taken away from him before he was shot, but at the same time championing the right to bear arms.
That's exactly right. I think there are a lot of critics of the Trump administration who say that he has not only come out against the First Amendment or Fourth Amendment, 10th Amendment, that perhaps he's come out against the Second Amendment as well in terms of the right to carry arms. This is something that is couldn't be more important to your typical conservative in America, or has been for decades now. But I think it's also telling that so many in the MAGA world are actually saying as much, saying that what do you expect to happen if you come to a rally armed? Let's not forget what happened in Michigan when they protested at the State House there, and they were armed protesters there, or even look at January 6th, 2021, and how many were armed there. If the Trump administration is going to come out against carrying arms, that is something that is probably the largest departure that I've seen of the conservative movement more broadly.
And Jared, I wonder, could there be another scapegoat higher up in the Trump administration with Kristi Noem, the head of Homeland Security, because the Democrats are threatening to have her impeached, and that's been agreed upon with the support of a small number of Republican senators?
Yeah, I think it's far too early to tell. And I think this administration, compared to the first Trump administration, has gone out of its way to not have too much change in its cabinet. We shouldn't forget just how many chiefs of staff and national security advisors and cabinet officials the first Trump administration went through. This administration, with a single chief of staff so far and far less leaks, I think is really going out of its way to not fire or to not have senior officials quit because they view that as a win for the Democrats and perhaps an incentive for the Democrats to push even harder. So I think we may see Kristi Noem face some hearings of some sort. We very well may see the Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, facing some heat as well, although he is not a Senate-approved position. Nonetheless, he is arguably one of the most powerful and constant figures in Trump world for the entirety of its time in the public.
Yeah, and this saga looks like it's heading beyond American borders because it looks like ICE agents might be deployed to join the athletes in some sort of security role for the Winter Olympics. What's Homeland Security trying to do here?
Well, there are hundreds of technically Homeland Security offices around the world, dozens of countries. But the key thing to be aware of is the fact that it's not the enforcement and removal officers who are going to the Olympics. It is the Homeland Security investigations officers. If you ever see a U.S. diplomat, you see that they have diplomatic security. You ever see the U.S. president, you see that they have the Secret Service. The U.S. has a huge bureaucracy of different security agencies, and the ones that will be going to the Olympics are not the ones conducting raids in American cities.
Okay, Jared Mondschein from the U.S. Studies Center. Really appreciate your thoughts on the program as always. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.